Former Conservative Party chairman Lord Tebbit, one of Margaret Thatcher's closest allies, has died at the age of 94. Next, the former Conservative Party chairman Lord Tebbit has died at the age of 94. He served as Secretary of State for Employment and then for Trade and Industry under Margaret Thatcher and was one of her most loyal supporters. Our political correspondent, Helen Catt, has been taking a look back at his life. And just a warning, the following piece does contain flashing images.
Lord Tebbit, the former Norman Tebbit, party chairman and bruiser.
October 1992. The Tories are tearing themselves apart over Europe. And at conference, one of the party's great political bruisers has the Prime Minister, John Major, in his sights.
Do you want to be citizens of a European Union? No!
But it's for his closeness to Margaret Thatcher that Norman Tebbit was best known. He helped win her the 1987 general election as party chairman. But more than that, he was the embodiment of Thatcherism, an uncompromising working-class boy at the cabinet table.
He was critical to Margaret Thatcher's success. Sometimes she didn't own that as much as she should, I think. But nonetheless, he was absolutely loyal to her to help her to get through.
He never shrank from conflict, beginning his career in the RAF, where he broke his spine escaping from a burning plane. Later, he flew commercial airliners and, despite disliking trade unions, became a negotiator for his fellow pilots. In government, he tried to curb union power.
He knew what he wanted. He was a man who thought very carefully about his politics and the way ahead. So when he gave you instructions, asked for something, you knew what it was very clearly.
There was violence when unemployment hit 3 million, but he gave the protesters some famous advice.
I grew up in the 30s with an unemployed father. He didn't riot. He got on his bike and looked for work, and he kept looking till he found it.
He will also be remembered for another controversial phrase, the cricket test, to assess the integration of immigrant families by which side they supported when England were playing.
Norman! Yes, leader.
Loved by the satirists, he embraced his image as a political tough guy.
I wasn't quite certain about it when I first saw my spitting image, but I came to realise that he was doing me a lot of good. I'm not sure he was intended to.
They worked very gingerly to free him without further injury.
But in 1984, the IRA bombed the Tory party conference in Brighton. He was pulled from the rubble and his wife Margaret left partially paralysed.
I would have liked to have been Prime Minister, but the injuries which my wife had incurred caused me to believe that I owed my loyalty to her.
He stepped away from frontline politics after 1992 and devoted himself to her care.
He put family first. He always exemplified personal responsibility. He was the embodiment of what a Conservative should be, and we're going to miss him very much.
Norman Tebbit followed his old boss to the House of Lords, where he spoke out against multiculturalism and in favour of Brexit, a man who was willing to compromise on his political ambitions, but not on his political values.
Lord Tebbit, who's died at the age of 94.
Next tonight, he was known as the working-class politician on the front line of Tory party politics, a Margaret Thatcher loyalist and an IRA bombing survivor. Former Cabinet Minister Norman Tebbit, who's died at the age of 94. He served as an MP for both Epping and Chingford, becoming Employment Secretary and the party chairman. But it was the impact of hours spent under rubble of the Brighton bombing in 1984 that ultimately ended his career. Sharon Thomas has more.
He was Margaret Thatcher's right-hand man.
Roses for you, Margaret.
A politician of conviction and sharp wit who never shied away from a good row. Norman Tebbit had a profound and lasting influence on Conservative politics.
The Conservative family is mourning Lord Tebbit's loss. He was an icon. We respected him for so many reasons. The battles he fought during the Thatcher government, but probably the most inspiring thing was watching the aftermath of the 1984 Brighton bomb and how he responded to a terrorist attack from the IRA.
Born in Ponders End, Middlesex, he went to Edmonton Grammar School before becoming an RAF pilot and then turned to politics. In 1970, he became MP for Epping and then in 1974 for Chingford.
I grew up in the 30s with an unemployed father. He didn't riot. He got on his bike and looked for work, and he kept looking till he found it.
As one of Thatcher's closest allies, he was responsible for laws curbing the unions, dubbed the Chingford Strangler and satirised on television.
All this violence amongst unemployed British youth is the fault of a tiny minority.
Right!
Us.
He was seen as a potential leader, but all that changed one shocking night when the IRA bombed the Grand Hotel in Brighton. He was trapped for 4 hours, holding his wife Margaret's hand. She was paralysed.
Just the odd tatty edge, which is not quite right, you know, but broadly speaking, I'm up, going, walking, and looking forward to being back in the office in the new year.
But he didn't return to frontline politics, choosing to prioritise caring for his wife. When the PM was finally forced out, there was a warm tribute.
I had some marvellous people with me who were staunch to the end. Norman Tebbit was fabulous.
Later in life, he took up a seat in the Lords. The man whom the Labour leader Michael Foot once described as a semi-house-trained polecat was unapologetic and unchanging to the end. Lord Tebbit died peacefully at his home, aged 94.
Lord Tebbit, whose death was announced today.